Thanks, David and Dana, and ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us here today. I wasn't sure anybody would show up, so I brought my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. Nana. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for the sponsors. Thanks for the opportunity to kind of tell the story. And so we're going to do a couple things. We're going to kind of build on Dana's video of our city. We talked about a couple of things as a business person, trying to locate here, trying to attract people here, trying to grow here, and trying to have a very special relationship with the people that work for us. Some ground rules. I can get rather animated. I swear and I sweat, so I'll try and do only one of those today. And the other thing is, unlike the depth of the research that you saw in the video and the other discussions, we did a little Googling myself, and so if I don't have your picture up here, or your company's logo or your organization, it's meant to be indicative, not complete. All right. So I feel like the luckiest guy in the world being part of the Winnipeg business scene. And rather than a big long introduction, I have a lovely wife who's also here with me for 25 years and 2 children, and this dog named Charlie that I'm not that fond of, but and I've had the wonderful opportunity of living at different places, including overseas. I went to high school here, university, and kept learning. I took the securities course when I graduated, hoping that if I ever had money, I'd know what to do with it, and so we're still hoping for that. And had a great opportunity to go to Harvard Business School for an executive program for almost 3 months, and that was just fantastic learning. And recently did the Institute of Corporate Directors, so if you haven't done that, it's now here in Manitoba, by the University of Manitoba. It's a fantastic learning opportunity. And my desire and my passion, and part of the reason I love being part of Winnipeg, is the community. And so I've had some really special opportunities. I had the opportunity when Mr. Chippen, just before he passed away, asked me to take his position on the Winnipeg Jets board and the board of True North Sports Entertainment, which is unbelievable. And so you and I see people trying to sell us a ticket for $400 and just for a hot dog and a beer and so forth. What I see is this unbelievable organization who loves this city and is trying to bring events and professional sports and brand and so forth. The board meetings are fascinating, the way in which Mark manages the business, and of course David Thompson, the wealthiest guy in Canada, who loves this adopted city of Winnipeg. I continue to try and put my name up when Chevy's looking for a stay-at-home defenseman, and Mark's response is fairly quick, then just stay at home. I had the opportunity to be on Barry Rempel's board at the Winnipeg Airport, and it's funny to listen to Barry tell the story up there, but an airport is not just a place that you and I fly in out of. It is absolutely the economic engine of the city. And so when people look to locate businesses, when people look to actually go for vacations, cargo, movement, and so forth, and what Barry's trying to do, and what he has done for a number of years, is making our airport an airport city. And so everything around this province is oriented around not only people, cargo, and so forth, to make it a special place. And we are really lucky to have our airport as awesome as it is, 15 minutes from downtown. Now, if there was more buses in the city, it'd probably be 10 minutes to downtown. I've had the opportunity to be part of the Asper Associates. I was one of the original guys when there was a young associate, and only if any of you know about the associates, when you turn 40, Arnie Thorstenson calls you and asks how old you are. And that just means you go from a young associate to associate, and your fees go from $300 to $1,000. And so, but the associates is a really, really unique model where not only are we trying to give back and grow the university, specifically the business school, but it's a way to shape and meld and develop the curriculum so that we as business people in the community are hiring what we want as opposed to just the average person coming out of school. And of course, those of us that had participated a couple weeks ago in the Idea Dinner, the International Distinguished Entrepreneur Award, and the granting of the award to Dr. Hartley Richardson, saw a very, very special local person who's done phenomenal things on a national and global scale. I've been involved with Business Council, which is interesting in terms of watching literally the senior business leaders in the city try to influence policy and politics. That hasn't gone very well, but that's another discussion. United Way, Connie and what she's done at the United Way, really, really special. You may know this or you may not, but Winnipeg has this really unique model where I think it was 1976, Premier Edward Schreier put in a scenario where the province would pay for the cost of the machine of the United Way, which means every penny I or you give goes to somebody in need. And it's pretty amazing to watch what those people do. And we all give and support environments and associations and things in our own environments, but really, really special. So congrats to what they're doing. And of course, I had the opportunity to join this Front and Center campaign, which we'll talk about. Now, I've had 2 jobs. Before I had those jobs, I had a bit of a diverse start. And so the first one, like many of you, I was a paper boy. I lived in Brantford, Ontario. I delivered the Brantford Expositor. I never made any money at it, but it felt like I was a player at 12 years old. And then I graduated to the Globe and Mail, which was in the mornings instead of after work or after school, so I could actually participate in some sporting activities. Then I wanted to be I was a tennis player, so I wanted to be a tennis pro, and so I approached our tennis club about being a teacher for little kids, and they said, well, we got a deal for you. You can be the tennis pro for the kids as long as you're the janitor for the club. So I took it. Then came to Winnipeg and had the opportunity to be a cook at a Junior's restaurant. Those are the best fries on the planet. Not sure about the gravy on the burgers, but anyway. And of course, it was a bit of a theme and a trend here. They said, I'll be cook as long as you'll make the assistant manager. Now, there's 5 employees in this place, right? But I had business cards that said assistant manager. And my first hire was my little sister. And my last job before taking on a legitimate career is I had my business degree. I show up at what was Federal Industries here in Winnipeg, a fantastic conglomerate at the time. And Mr. Fraser says to me, we're moving you to Edmonton. You're going to work in the transportation industry. So I moved to Edmonton. I show up there. I got my, at that time, my dress shirt on and my suit and my briefcase and so forth. And they said, no, you're going to come back about 4 o'clock tonight. You're going on a rig move. Okay, so the White Pass Systems moved oil rigs to the oil patch. And so I spent literally about 6 weeks in a row in the patch, and I was a swamper, which means I'm in the mud, chaining up things for guys to pull it away. And so I made the deal that if I'd be a swamper, if you'd let me be a truck driver. So that's what I was able to do. Some pretty exciting stuff. All right, so I've worked at 2 companies. Hopefully you know them here in Winnipeg. They're some really, really special businesses. Standard Aero is truly a world leader. Magnificent business. Is one of the first to ever embrace the concept of full lean production in their facilities. Tremendous culture, have gone through a number of ownership changes. Unfortunately, the head office is not here in Winnipeg, plus they fired me, but that's another discussion. Really, really special global leader right from here in Winnipeg, and they're involved in all aspects of aviation. So you may read about it in the newspaper here once in a while, but this is a homegrown story about being the best in the world at repair and overhaul of primarily gas turbine engines and other aviation components. And if you haven't, and if you're interested in organizational dynamics and facilities, go get a tour of Standard Aero. It's a constant, continuous doctor's or dentist's office where the people are building things in surgery, the material, the manuals, the information, the spare parts, and so forth. It's a really, really special business. And a number of years ago, they got into the big stuff, and so now they're doing engines for all of the major airlines, and it's a pretty successful story. So now, the last 10 years, I've worked for a fantastic business, what was New Flyer Industries, and now we rebranded NFI Group. Our logo's not quite as sexy as the University of Winnipeg is. Just kidding, sorry. A wonderful story. 1930, an immigrant from the Ukraine shows up in Manitoba, wants to start building, at that time, carriages and so forth, gets into buses. And today is the largest North American provider of transit buses. 1 out of every 2 transit buses on the road in North America is a New Flyer or one of the businesses that we've added to our portfolio, which is pretty cool for a little old Winnipeg man. So we have some other stuff. We were able to acquire Motor Coach Industries. Think about this, the largest transit guy in Winnipeg, or in North America, founded in 1930 in Winnipeg. The largest motor coach, founded in 1932 in Winnipeg by a Russian immigrant. And so for years, all we did was steal each other's people, and then in 2015, we were able to acquire Motor Coach. And so now we got this magnificent balance and so forth, and just recently we made a deal to acquire the largest double-deck business in the world. And so I won't bore you with this sore eye chart, but for those of us that work there and been part of this journey to watch this business grow, both organically, changing the capital structure. For a while, we were the darlings of Bay Street. Unfortunately, for some reason, when your stock goes like this, they don't like you as much, but that's something we're still working on. Added a couple businesses in the United States and diversified, and so now we're a $3.3 billion US dollar business, which is like $1 trillion Canadian or wherever the conversion is. And so a little commercial, I got a show special today. If anybody's looking for a transit bus, this is a 2019 XC60. It's an all-electric transit bus, 60 foot long with a nice articulated joint, about $1.2 million US. We have terms you can live with if you're interested. This bus, full battery, full load, can go about 250 miles without a secondary charge. And so we're really starting to take off with this. Motor Coach is a really special business, a magnificent brand that kind of lost their way and really are catching up quickly. This is designed by a couple of Winnipeg people that they decided one of the challenges with people in wheelchairs and handicapped is how do you get them into a motor coach? And so they came up with a design where they actually have a vestibule at the side. And so we can now load people and people in wheelchairs or scooters can load themselves at an incredible pace. And so we think this is going to revolutionize many of the shuttles and commuters in a lot of cities around North America. The first customer was in Banff, Alberta, now touring people through there. The second customer was a massive social media company in San Francisco that I can't tell you the name, but it was Facebook. And this is the company we just had the opportunity and pleasure of buying just recently at Alexander Dennis. It's amazing what 550 Canadian dollars can get you, but this is the #1 double-deck business in the world. It's headquartered in Scotland, have facilities kind of a number of places around the world in 10 countries, and are now making real inroads into North America. So it was a neat portfolio add for our business. So really proud of our team and what we've been able to do. So I'm going to build a little bit on what Dana showed you in the video and what Lauren talked about in the introduction and so forth, but let's talk about Winnipeg. Now, this is from a business person going around the world, not marketing my city, but marketing our business. And so it is unbelievable, as we know when we talk, just like in the video, where's Winnipeg? It's kind of amazing to me when you go to these places around the world and they don't know where it is. And of course, it's in the center of North America, which we all know is in the middle of nowhere. And if you go up on the second story of your house, you can watch your dog run away for a couple of days. Which is good for farmers. And so, of course, we get the jokes, about our crazy weather, and everybody thinks it's a storybook like this with snow all over the place. And the truth is, it's actually even worse. Which is all know, right? And for some reason, they think it's a bird or something, but we get this massive, I think we do it to ourselves about the size of our mosquitoes, and they're not really all that big, so that we can live with them. And then, of course, I saw the mayor's wife here. I don't know if the mayor's here. Sorry about this, but the whole pothole dynamic is real. And people in other cities think we live in potholes, and they're actually bigger than it's a really cool place, and it's our place, and that's what's really special about it. Again, those of you at the Idea Dinner saw or heard Sandy Riley introduce Harley Richardson, and listen to Sandy's portrayal of Winnipeg and why he's here. It was very, very special. And what I like about Winnipeg is that we don't complain about what we don't have. And we saw it in the video, you'll hear it all the time, is we celebrate what we do have. And that's a great, so here's my take on some of the stuff that's in Winnipeg. Some of it's duplicative and some of it's a pretty welcoming place, right? We have people from 60 countries, which is pretty amazing. Just walk into any one of our factories and it is the absolute United Nations. We had one of our fiberglass plants now, we've got to post all of the employee announcements in 5 languages, which is a pain in the ass, but very cool. And what I really like about Winnipeg, and there's just a sample of some of the people we all know, it's not just cutting a check, it's rolling up the sleeves, it's chairing the committees, it's moving the sandbags, it's running the asks and the needs and the projects, and that's really, really special, and that's what inspires me, and really why I wanted to get involved in some of the city. Back to our friends at the United Way, it's really amazing. Right? They've raised $200 million in the last 10 years. Again, the machine is paid for by the province, and what will blow your mind, 1 in every 3 Winnipeggers in their lifetime is going to need help from a United Way agency. So look around your tables, a bunch of us are going to need some help. And that's what's really cool and really special about this vehicle. We know about our Museum for Human Rights. It's 5 years, I think, now since it was opened. The vision of Izzy Asper. And it is cool. I was in Scotland 2 weeks ago and had somebody ask me about the Museum for Human Rights, which is really special. And the amount of people that are going through it. And it's a conversation about doing the right thing for people around the planet. And boy, are we lucky to have this. I think, again, research, I think it's the only federal museum outside the National Capital Region A, and I think it's the first one built since 1967. That's a federal museum, which is really, really special. So congrats to Gail and the team for pulling that off. And then when you talked about bringing people to Winnipeg, you're talking about growing your children or whatever, and people you know, we got some pretty special higher learning educational institutions, whether it's professional or technical or marketing or whatever the chosen field of study is. Now again, sorry if all your names are here, but I started to think about the people that I interact with in the companies. We got some massive global brands here in the city. And what's cool about this chart, 2 of the logos are mine, by the way. What's really cool about this chart, it's the new ones. It's the Bolds or the 24/7 In Touch or the Skip Editions, right? They're hiring young people and programmers and technical people that could be anywhere. They're choosing our city to grow that technical and special skill. And it is really cool to watch what they do. Very, very different. I remember a couple years ago, I kind of had a home and away series with one of the founders of Skip, and what he did is I brought him to my factory, and before I showed him the factory, I sat in front of the whiteboard and I drew a flow chart of how we build a bus and so forth, and I went left to right and whatever. I went and saw it, so I took him to the factory, we showed him, he was really impressed, and I went to his office, and he got up to his whiteboard and he drew the processes completely in reverse. He went from customer all the way back, and it was a completely different way of thinking about it. And what those guys are doing, Skip, in terms of disrupting and changing the game, and others like Boulder or 24/7 In Touch, is pretty magical. And son of a gun, it's in our city. We saw Barry in the video, and again, I can't say enough of how not only is it really cool to taxi airport, it is not just an airport. And many people think it's owned by the government. It's not owned by the government, it's owned by the community, basically. And it's run by a nonprofit board, and Barry runs it like an absolute tight business. And this is one special asset that we can be really proud of. We've got an inland port, and of course that's starting to change the game. And sure, there's dynamics about efficiency and use of land and people and so forth, but think about it. We can move stuff in by air, by road, and by rail, and we move it out. We're becoming, and more to come, that center of commerce and be able to get stuff into North America very quickly. Not many cities can say they got both NHL and AHL teams, and that's pretty special. And of course, maybe this year ended a little bit short, but boy, we got one fantastic passion. You can't walk down the street without seeing somebody with a jet logo or now Moose logos and so forth. And we've all been, I'm sure, or most of us have been, it's a crazy place. It's even crazier outside, which is really neat. And last year and the year before, going to Toronto, and it was wonderful to see the Leafs lose, at least before we did, but that's another thing. Talking to people in Toronto and around the city about how sexy and exciting Winnipeg is, the passion, not just for the sport, but for our city was really special. This can't be underestimated. Yeah, sure, the Bombers play there, but it is more than just. Did I say that out loud? I meant that in a positive way. Scott, can you help me out with this? It's the Blue Bombers' home, but it's home for so much more. And now we've got soccer there, there's been concerts there, and all kinds of stuff. And it is a showpiece facility, and thanks to the University of Manitoba for allowing it to be right in the center. You drive up to the university, you drive even close to the university, and you see this massive facility, absolutely looking onto the prairies. Barb Redmond's here in the Assiniboine Park. That's no small task. You talk to people that are kind of a generation past me and remember going to City Park and all this other stuff and watching what it was and what it's now becoming again, and it is an unbelievable place. I went for a walk the other night with my dog Charlie. I almost left him there, but it's very cool. And of course, the zoo and the journey to Churchill and so forth, if you haven't done it, do it. And every single person that comes to visit you, take them there, because they'll leave going, wow. The other thing is arts, and we know this, and we saw it in some of the videos, but there is something for everything and everybody. And I don't have all the logos up here, but it's amazing to watch the cultural dynamic in our city. And of course, 31 festivals. There is something for everybody. And it's a massive number when you think about the size of our community and the fact that our summer is about 3 weeks long or whatever. Which leads us to this dynamic around cottage country. And so we have cottages in all price ranges, some in my range, some not in my range, within 1 to 2 hours of the city. And the days of sunshine and the days of the beaches and whatever is a pretty special opportunity. So then you start to think about who's from Winnipeg. And that's one of the questions when you travel, you say you're from Winnipeg, and sometimes they say, is that the Jets and whatever. There's some pretty neat people. Sir William Stevenson invented this technology that ultimately became the fax machine. So I was pretty cool in the UK 2 weeks ago telling everybody that, yeah, James Bond's from the same place that I'm from. Winnie the Pooh, of course, you know, the soldier that bought the bear, and we know the story and so forth, but it's pretty amazing to think that winning to us is a natural word. And then there's a bunch of business leaders, and again, not meant to be exhaustive, but there's some guys or gals on this list that are doing some pretty amazing things, and we've got the new Canada Life logo, the Great West Life Company here that's now expanded and brought a whole bunch of what Boyd has done, this little repair shop, and what they've done now, one of the largest in North America. You know, if you bought a share in Boyd about 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, it was $1, right? Now it's $176, so jealous as hell. What's really cool about watching TV and sports is, I don't know about you, but every time I sit there and one of the announcers says, so-and-so from Winnipeg, it's like I know the guy or gal, right? It's like they're my neighbor. That's the way we embrace our sports. There's some pretty special people on this list and others that come from Winnipeg. And then, you know, the musicians and the performers, and that's a good one too. In Scotland a couple weeks ago, I was talking to this guy about the Guess Who, and I said, well, yeah, Burton Cummings, my neighbor. Yeah, right. So I'm telling you, the guy lived next door to me. You know, so again, family, environment, people. And then the journalists. What it is about Winnipeg and our weather and our water, I don't know, but you watch the news, you watch anything any night, and you'll see somebody from Winnipeg as one of the headliners. So I was at an event a couple weeks ago. It's a little bit like the video, and Jim Ludlow from True North was the speaker, and anybody that know Jim can talk fairly fast, and he didn't take any breaths. But this was Jim's. He challenged us in the room, and I'm just going to quickly read it to you. Imagine a Winnipeg without the RWB, the oldest continuous operating valley company in North America. The CMHR, the RMTC, the WSO, the WAG, and the up-and-coming world's premier center for Inuit art, the Manitoba Museum and the Alloway Hall expansion, the wonderfully expanded RBC Convention Center, the James Armstrong Richardson International Airport, Centerport, Winnipeg Contemporary Dancers, Manitoba Opera, the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra, AHL and NHL Hockey, CFL Football, Northern League Baseball, Sidwine Park and the Zoo, spectacular new University Gardens, Kildonan Park and Rainbow Stage, numerous parks, lakes, beaches, and a plethora of summer and winter festivals, easily recognized on the continent as classics. From the Winnipeg Folk Festival to the Festival de Voyageur and Folkloriana, from the Finch Festival to the Winnipeg Jazz Festival, the 67 and 99 Pan Am Games to the 2016 Heritage Classic and the 2017 Canada Games. We did it here in Winnipeg, and people in Winnipeg made those things happen, which is really, really special. So I'm a big fan of this place. So thank you for those of you that want to be here, live here. Thank you for making this a very special place and an opportunity for all of us. As an employer, we now have about 3,500 people here in this city, and we love being part of Winnipeg. So now we're going to talk a little bit about transformation. So we hijacked the agenda here a little bit. As David mentioned, I chair the capital campaign at the University of Manitoba, and we're just going to give you kind of some insights. And so since we're celebrating Winnipeg today, we asked Lauren if we could take a portion of the agenda to bring you up to speed on this truly transformational capital campaign. And I believe in the U of M. It's the largest post-secondary institution in the province, and I believe that it can help take our city and our province to the next level. And we kept and continue to raise the bar. So when I was asked to chair the campaign, I jumped at it. It was about diving, they said it was $500 million, but we've got past that. Now I graduated barely 35 years ago. And I've seen firsthand the social, the economic, the cultural impact that the university has on everyday life here in the province of Manitoba. Now our future is shaped by the quality of the research, the education, and the leaders that come out of this important institution. And that's why I'm proud to be part of it, and proud of what we've accomplished with the campaign. Thanks to 60,000, that's 60,000 people that have given to the campaign from nearly 50 countries. Nearly 1 in 5 grads of the school have given back in some way, shape, or form. And many of them are in the room today, so thank you for that. Together, we've helped build a university capable of taking on many of the countries in the world's most important challenges, like combating climate change, tackling infectious diseases, working with our Indigenous partners to forge a path to reconciliation, and standing up for the rights of individuals. So far on our campus, we've established 600 new scholarships and bursaries and fellowships as part of this program, created 18 new chairs and professorships, enhanced 46 buildings, and built 4 more. That means that today, compared to a couple of years ago, we have 2,000 more students that receive funding that are critical to their studies as a result of this campaign. And we have more work to do, and it will take all of us to do it. And so no matter if this is your hometown, your adopted town, thanks for taking your place front and center to make it special. Now, case in point, we're going to celebrate somebody today who's been a really important part of this campaign. And he's traveled from Calgary to be with us. He's a fellow alumnus and a true Winnipegger at heart, and I'm pleased to welcome to our city, once again, Dr. Stu Clark. Now, Stu is one of Canada's most prolific oil and gas entrepreneurs. Now, in 1986, he was the CFO of Pinnacle Resources. He and his partners raised $2 million of shareholder capital. They sold the company in 1998 for about $1 billion. And since then, Stu's been involved in the startup and reorganization of a number of Calgary-based public and private entities. Now, Stu is as generous as he is successful, and he continues to take his place and make his mark on our university in his hometown of Winnipeg. And so today, I'm excited to announce that Stu has donated another $10 million to the IHS for hold your applause, because the real thing to clap for is this guy's given us in total $19.3 million, which is unbelievable. So what we're going to do really quickly here is we're going to invite Stu up in a sec with, and we're going to have a little conversation, a little Q&A conversation of why Winnipeg? Why is a guy that's gone off to Calgary and done a bunch of cool stuff, why is he so attached back to Winnipeg? But right now, let's take a quick look at Stu's generosity and the impact that he's having on future engineers at the U of M. So a short video.
Stu Clark is a visionary, and his entrepreneurial spirit lives right here at the University of Manitoba. His first gift of $1 million kicked off more than a decade of support for the Asper School of Business, turning learners into leaders through the Stu Clark Center for Entrepreneurship. This hub of creativity in the heart of our Fort Garry campus has launched hundreds of students and alumni into successful careers and transformed how we educate the next generation of business leaders.
It's really important to see people like Stu Clark giving back to the University of Manitoba. For me, I found the Stu Clark Center was really probably the most valuable thing that I engaged with.
Stu, I am so sorry I'm not here to say this to you in person, but I just wanted to say that today is so special because my dad and Stu shared so many of the same values, including a love of Manitoba and a love for the University of Manitoba.
He has been highly involved in advising how we can nurture the entrepreneurial spirit in students with a combination of programming, competitions, and networking with industry experts.
Stu, by making this wonderful gift, you are supporting the next generation of leaders to pursue big dreams, to reach for the stars, which is something you know we are very passionate about.
You know, there's really nothing more selfless than extending a hand to somebody behind you who you may never meet and who may never have the opportunity to thank. So those thanks from myself and from the others, and I know there are others whose lives have been touched by it.
I cannot thank you enough for your generosity and commitment to our students over the years.
And I just want to thank you so much for everything you're doing for the U of M.
Well, this is pretty exciting.
Very exciting.
It's an honor for me to be able to ask you a couple questions, but I think right off the hop, Paul alluded to it. Why Winnipeg?
Well, not so much Winnipeg when I thought about that question. I have a couple of causes that I've supported in a fairly material way here, and they happen to be in Winnipeg. So Winnipeg is going to be the beneficiary of the money I invested philanthropically, but the Museum for Human Rights and the University of Manitoba, which I graduated from in '76, and from that opened many doors and many opportunities. And I realized when I retired a few years back that it was time to give some of that back, and what better place than the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg.
Yeah, exactly. Paul, maybe we start with you on this one, but what do you think it is about Winnipeg and Manitoba that cultivates entrepreneurs and cultivates people to kind of think outside the box and do interesting things in this city?
Well, I think this can do, you know, like we make fun of ourselves in your video and in my talk about we're our own worst enemy, but there's this desire and element around Winnipeggers of we can punch above our weight and we can do anything from here and we don't need to be in the big city to make it happen. And I think that breeds this sense of confidence and interest and whatever. The other thing, candidly, is access. And so people like Stu that come back and chair his business competitions and that genuinely is coaching young people or people that are gone through a certain stage of their life that want to get that advice and help. It's that sense of Winnipeggers help Winnipeggers, and we can compete with anybody because of that sense of camaraderie. I don't know if everybody picked up on it, but Stu's words, I said Stu donated money, Stu just said, I invested money. And there's a big difference because he sees the value of investing in the institution that's going to grow and develop those people, and I think that's pretty special.
And Stu, from your perspective, what do you think it is about entrepreneurs that are important to society? What do you think, what's the spark in them that helps make our cities better?
Oh, entrepreneurship and business is basically the root of growth and employment and tax revenue and all of the benefits that a city has because people are willing to risk and start and put up their own capital to build businesses.
And do you think there's something, though, in an entrepreneur that's a little different from the average guy?
Yeah, there is. I think definitely there is something that's different, and it's your ability, or not ability, but your sense of risk, the idea that what you can do can actually work, and you're persistent and patient, and work hard enough to take that project through to fruition. And really, Winnipeg, my experience is, if you can make it in Winnipeg, you can make it anywhere. That Winnipeg is a very, very tough and competitive city to start and grow a business. And there's lots of old money here that has control over a lot of different aspects of the business community. And to break into that or start something new and grow it and see it succeed is very difficult. Cost control is more, I see it here more than I ever saw it in Calgary, where during the time I was in the oil and gas business, I still am, but in a peripheral way, money was everywhere. It was easy to get money, and that businesses were the streets were paved with gold. And that's not true. That's in Winnipeg, it's a steady environmental, or not environmental, but an economic climate that if you're able to succeed, you can go anywhere and succeed.
Yeah, you can't just get lucky. You
can't just get lucky here. No, you've got to be good.
Hey, Dana, you asked Stu about this concept of entrepreneurs being different. But part of the discussion the university's had with Stu over the last number of years since he's been given money is this interest and mandate from Stu that every single person that goes through Asper has got some level of entrepreneurial training. Because while it isn't always everybody, there's an element that anything you do, you need that sense of entrepreneurial spirit and awareness and scope and whatever. And so part of his string with the investment was you're going to make that a core part of the curriculum of every single student, which is very different than when I went through school. That wasn't really understood or talked about. Now it's absolutely a fundamental core course, no different than accounting.
Yeah, that starts in September, and that's something that I really appreciate that the university was listening on that, because when I went through commerce, we were programmed to go to work for a bank or an accounting firm or some large institution that we start as a low-level manager and work our way up, and there were no other options. And what I found was when I got out of university is when I just developed my passion for entrepreneurship, and bringing it into the school brings structure to the concept of entrepreneurship, and that structure plus it exposes someone's early in their life passion for maybe starting a business on their own. And I think all businesses start as small businesses. So what more, we need to expose all our students to that, and not just as an options course. it's got to be a core course. And the university understands that and is making that a core course now.
Thanks
For
to you.
anybody that
Thanks to
takes-
you.
Yeah,
or
exactly,
anybody that-
thanks to you.
You can't graduate in commerce now without getting a half course in entrepreneurship. And that exposes every student to that concept.
That's awesome.
If things would be different, Paul, if you would have got an entrepreneurship course first. I mean, it's interesting because so many times we think that that's something that you're born with, and now we're rethinking it and thinking, hey, maybe we can teach some of this stuff. I mean, when I look at the jobs that you had, you were pretty entrepreneurial at a young age, but what do you
I
think
delivered papers too.
My customers never paid me, that was the problem.
But do you see the value in that? Do you see the need to have that taught at a younger age?
I do. When I first met Stu and started to hear that, and you look at his career, you look at a lot of the other people that we know and watch in Winnipeg, and Mark Chipman, for example, is a good example, and others, where there's that sense, some of it have an innate learning, and some of it, I think, if we can expose everybody, that it might help instill it. The other part that's really special about Winnipeg, and I'm hung up on this community thing, but we have this laboratory of being involved in charities and foundations and United Way agencies and so forth, where we can go actually at a young age and go learn in a very safe, no-fail environment and get exposed to these leaders that have those skills, either of chairing or entrepreneur or creation and so forth. It's all within the perimeter highway, and where else in the world do you have all of that stuff in a safe environment to learn?
Yeah. And where else do you have CEOs that are willing to give of their time? I mean, I know you do it all the time, but there is no other city in the country where you can phone up CEOs and say, hey, we've got 6 university students, will you come spend the day? Or we're bringing in a company to Winnipeg, we want to show them around. Would you mind giving up a little bit of time? And in this city, people say yes, which is different. What impact do you hope that our graduate school has on the community and the country going forward?
Well, in the community, for sure, it's going to have, you're going to get a higher, I think, more sophisticated graduate. I think that the U of M or the Asper School has a graduate program now. It's just now going to be identified with me, which,
it's pretty
you
good.
can have your own opinion on that. If you think that's good or bad, but it's identified. There's some significant resources behind it. We'll have more professorships. We'll have more scholarships. We'll have more programs. We'll have enhanced programs. I think it's going to be beneficial to the employers in the community because they'll have stronger, better educated graduates.
Yeah. And Paul, I mean, you've spent so much time and effort on the Front and Center campaign and done a remarkable job. But what do you hope to see coming out of the university when this is all done, and whether it's the graduate school or the other work that you've been a part of?
Well, first of all, the pace of the campaign and the give back is amazing, and it's not just a contribution; it's transformational for a lot of parts of the university, which you're glad to be part of and involved with. But the graduate thing is something that isn't often understood unless you're inside that. And to think about what we lose in Winnipeg, that graduates go elsewhere because there's financial resources that we don't have. And so what Stu's trying to address is getting those resources to help retain them, but also attract people to our city. And graduate students are that real link to entrepreneurship because they're researching certain things, they're linked to the business community, they're inventing things. And again, in Winnipeg, we have the ability to go straight to the business community and try and make that come real. And so that whole, across the university, whether it's a business school or across the whole thing, graduate students are absolutely critical to the long-term health and viability of not only the school, the university, but also the community.
Yeah. And hopefully we can get more of those graduate students to stay in Winnipeg and follow their dreams here and be better entrepreneurs. So with that, I will turn it back over to Scott Sissons to say thank you, and it's been a pleasure celebrating Winnipeg with all of you.
Thanks.